March 2019. A housekeeping worker pushes open the heavy wooden doors of a luxury desert estate in Al Qudra, expecting to clean up after a private wedding celebration. Instead, she finds a young woman's lifeless body sprawled across silk sheets, a cream-colored abaya still draped over a nearby chair. Less than 12 hours ago, this bride had exchanged vows with a wealthy sheikh. Now Dubai police are racing to the scene, and her groom has vanished without a trace. What could turn a dream wedding into a nightmare so quickly? And what dark secret was this woman about to discover before it was too late? Stay with me to the very end to find out. Welcome to True Crime Journal HQ. Thanks to all our viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay with us for daily update on the most shocking true crime stories. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Before we start, if you want to learn how to protect yourself from potential danger, then download your free ebook titled Safety for Women Over 40, Everyday Habits to Outsmart Criminals by clicking the link in the pinned comment. Rosalie Fernandez was born on a sweltering August morning in 1991 in Tondo, Manila, one of the most densely populated neighborhoods in the Philippines. Her father, Eduardo, spent 14-hour shifts at the Manila North Harbor, loading and unloading cargo ships under the punishing sun. Her mother, Teresa, worked from their cramped two-room apartment, hunched over a sewing machine, stitching garments for local vendors. Money was always tight, but love was abundant. From an early age, Rosalie showed a spark that set her apart. While other children played in the narrow alleys between concrete houses, she sat with borrowed textbooks, teaching herself English by watching old American movies on their neighbors' television. Her teachers noticed immediately this girl had potential. By grade 5, she was consistently at the top of her class, winning small academic competitions that came with cash prizes she'd hand directly to her mother. Poverty shaped Rosalie's ambitions. She watched her father come home each night with calloused hands and an aching back. She saw her mother's fingers cramped and bleeding from endless needlework. She promised herself one thing: she would lift her family out of this struggle. Education was her only way out. Her teenage years were defined by relentless determination. Rosalie won a scholarship to a decent high school across the city, which meant waking at 4:30 a.m. to catch multiple jeepneys through Manila's chaotic traffic. She arrived home after dark, only to study under a single flickering bulb while her younger siblings slept. The sacrifice paid off. At 17, she earned a full scholarship to study hotel and restaurant management at a reputable Manila university. College opened new worlds. Rosalie excelled in her coursework, learning the art of hospitality, customer service, and luxury hotel operations. She completed internships at five-star properties in Makati, where she first experienced the lifestyle of Manila's elite: glittering ballrooms, international guests, and salaries that seemed impossible. She graduated with honors in 2013 and was immediately hired as a front desk associate at the Peninsula Manila. Rosalie's rise through the hospitality industry was steady and impressive. From front desk to guest relations supervisor, then to assistant hospitality manager by age 25. She became known for her warmth, professionalism, and ability to handle high-profile guests with grace. Her salary grew, and with it, her ability to support her family. She paid for her younger brother's engineering degree and her sister's nursing school tuition. She moved her parents out of Tondo into a modest but dignified home in Caloocan. She was living her dream, or so everyone thought. But Rosalie had a void. At 28, while her career soared, her personal life remained empty. Filipino culture places immense pressure on women to marry young, and her relatives constantly reminded her that time was running out. "You're getting old," her aunts would say at family gatherings. "Who will take care of you?" She tried local dating apps, went on awkward blind dates arranged by friends, but nothing felt right. Most men were intimidated by her success or only interested in her money. Then, in late 2018, a colleague mentioned an exclusive matchmaking service, one that connected professional Filipino women with successful men in the Gulf region. Rosalie was skeptical at first, but curiosity got the better of her. She created a profile, uploaded a few photos, and forgot about it. 3 weeks later, she received a message that would change everything. Sheikh Zahir Al Maktoum, a 42-year-old real estate developer from Dubai, had viewed her profile and wanted to connect. His photos showed a distinguished man in traditional Emirati dress, standing in front of luxury cars and glass towers. His message was respectful, charming, and expressed genuine interest in knowing her. Their first video call lasted 3 hours. Zahir spoke perfect English, asked thoughtful questions about her family and dreams, and painted a beautiful picture of life in Dubai, a modern city where hard work was rewarded and opportunities were endless. He seemed different from the men she'd met in Manila. He seemed mature, established, and sincere. Have you ever met someone online who seemed too perfect? What made you trust them or walk away? Over the next 6 months, Rosalie and Zahir built a relationship that existed entirely through screens. They video called every evening, him from his penthouse in Business Bay, her from her small apartment in Makati. He told her about his real estate projects, the luxury developments transforming Dubai's skyline, his family's prominence in Emirati society. She shared stories of her childhood struggles, her pride in supporting her family, her hopes for the future. Zahir was generous with his affection and his wallet. He sent her expensive gifts, designer handbags, jewelry, an iPhone. When her father needed minor surgery, Zahir transferred money without hesitation. "Your family is my family now," he told her. Rosalie felt seen, valued, and cherished in ways she'd never experienced before. By December, Zahir proposed, not with a traditional face-to-face moment, but through a video call with a stunning diamond ring shipped to her doorstep. "Marry me, Rosalie. Come to Dubai. Let me give you the life you deserve." She said yes, tears streaming down her face. But red flags appeared that Rosalie chose to overlook. Zahir insisted on a quick private wedding. No big celebration, no family members, just the two of them in a ceremony at his desert estate. "I'm a private person," he explained. "My family doesn't need to know yet. We'll have a proper celebration later." When Rosalie suggested visiting Dubai first to meet him in person, he dismissed the idea. "Why waste time and money on 2 trips? I'll arrange everything. Just trust me." Her mother, Teresa, grew increasingly worried. "You've never met this man face to face. How do you know he's real? How do you know he's safe?" Rosalie bristled at the concerns. "Mama, you don't understand. He's been nothing but kind to us. Look at what he's done for Papa's surgery, for our family. This is my chance at a better life." In early March 2019, Zahir made the arrangements. A private jet would fly Rosalie directly from Manila to Dubai. She wouldn't need a formal visa. His connections would handle everything at immigration. The wedding would take place immediately upon her arrival. "Pack light," he instructed. "I'll buy you everything you need here." The night before her departure, Rosalie had one final video call with her mother. Teresa's eyes were red from crying. "Please be careful, Anak. If anything feels wrong, come home immediately." Rosalie smiled, trying to ease her mother's fears. "I'll be fine, Mama. I'll call you as soon as I land. This is the beginning of our family's new life." She had no idea what awaited her in the desert. By the time she realized the truth, it would be too late. Would you board a private jet to marry someone you've never met in person? Where do you draw the line between trust and risk? Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. March 15th, 2019. Rosalie's private jet touched down at a secluded terminal in Dubai International Airport, far from the main passenger halls. She'd spent the entire flight rehearsing what she'd say when she finally met Zahir in person, imagining the embrace, the relief of seeing the man she'd fallen for through a screen. As she descended the stairs onto the tarmac, the desert heat hit her immediately, dry, intense, so different from Manila's humidity. A black Mercedes waited on the runway. Zahir stood beside it in traditional white kandura and gutra, looking exactly like his photos, but somehow colder in person. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Habibti, welcome to Dubai, he said, kissing her hand formally. No warm embrace, no excited reunion, just a strange formality that made Rosalie's stomach tighten. As they drove away from the airport, Rosalie pressed her face against the window, mesmerized by the city's impossible skyline. Burj Khalifa piercing the clouds, gleaming towers lining Sheikh Zayed Road, construction cranes everywhere. "It's beautiful," she whispered. But they didn't drive toward those glittering towers. Instead, Zahir's driver headed in the opposite direction, away from the city, toward empty desert roads. "Where are we going?" Rosalie asked, confusion creeping into her voice. "I thought you lived in Business Bay." "We're going to my private estate in Al-Qudra," Zahir replied smoothly. "I arranged for the wedding to take place there. More privacy, more special." The drive stretched on, 40 minutes of increasingly barren landscape. Luxury villas gave way to sand dunes and scattered acacia trees. No neighbors, no shops, no signs of life. When they finally arrived at a sprawling desert compound surrounded by high walls, Rosalie felt the first real stab of fear. This wasn't romantic. This was isolated. Inside, the estate was stunning. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the desert. But something felt wrong. The staff, 2 housekeepers and a driver, barely made eye contact with her. When she tried to smile and introduce herself, they looked away quickly, almost fearfully. "The ceremony will begin in 1 hour," Zahir announced. "Go freshen up. I've laid out your abaya." Everything moved too fast. An imam arrived with 2 witnesses Rosalie had never met. No celebration, no joy, just mechanical recitation of vows. Rosalie signed papers she barely understood, her hand trembling. The witnesses left immediately after. The imam wouldn't meet her gaze. When Rosalie asked to call her mother, Zahir's expression hardened. "Not yet. The network here is poor. We'll go to the city tomorrow, and you can call her then. Tonight is for us." Her phone had no signal. When she tried to connect to Wi-Fi, there was none. She was completely cut off. That evening, Zahir prepared drinks. "Champagne for celebration," he said. Rosalie took a few sips. It tasted slightly bitter, medicinal even, but she attributed it to the brand. Within 20 minutes, her head felt heavy, her limbs sluggish. The room started to blur at the edges. "I don't feel well," she managed to say, panic rising in her chest. Zahir's face remained expressionless. "Just rest, Habibi. Everything will be fine." But nothing was fine. As Rosalie's vision darkened and her body refused to respond, one final thought flashed through her mind. Her mother had been right. What Rosalie didn't know was that 4 other women had stood exactly where she stood. None of them ever left that estate alive. Have you ever been in a situation where something felt off, but you ignored your instincts? What happened? March 16th, 2019, 9:47 a.m. Fatima al-Rashidi, a housekeeping worker who'd been employed at the Al-Qudra estate for 3 years, arrived for her scheduled shift. She'd been given the day off during the wedding, but was now expected to clean up. She punched in the security code, pushed open the main doors, and called out her usual greeting. Silence. The living areas showed no signs of celebration, no empty glasses, no flower arrangements, no mess. Confused, Fatima walked toward the master bedroom suite. The door was slightly ajar. She knocked twice. No response. She pushed it open. What she saw would haunt her for the rest of her life. Rosalie's body lay motionless across the bed, her eyes vacant and staring at the ceiling. The cream abaya from yesterday's ceremony was draped over a chair, untouched. There were visible marks on Rosalie's neck and arms. The room was pristine otherwise, too pristine, as if someone had carefully staged the scene. Fatima screamed and ran from the room, her hands shaking as she dialed 999. "There's a woman. She's dead. Al-Qudra estate. Please come now." Dubai's Criminal Investigation Department doesn't waste time. Within 18 minutes, 3 patrol vehicles and an ambulance arrived at the estate. Within 40 minutes, a full forensic team was on site. The UAE takes crime seriously, especially crimes that could tarnish Dubai's reputation as one of the world's safest cities. Lead investigator Captain Ahmed Al-Kabi immediately noticed inconsistencies. The scene was too clean. Zahir al-Maktoum was nowhere to be found, but his Mercedes remained in the driveway. His phone went straight to voicemail. When officers questioned the terrified housekeeping staff, they revealed disturbing details. Zahir had hosted similar private ceremonies before. Different women, always foreign, always kept isolated. "How many?" Captain Al-Kabi demanded. "4, maybe 5 before this one," a trembling housekeeper admitted. "But we never saw them leave." The investigation shifted into overdrive. Forensic teams tore through every room. In Zahir's private office, behind a false panel in his mahogany desk, they discovered a locked metal cabinet. Bolt cutters made quick work of it. Inside were passports, 5 of them. Rosalie's was on top, still crisp and new. Beneath it were 4 others, all Filipinas, all between 25 and 32 years old, all with expired visitor stamps from different years. There were marriage certificates too, each one performed privately, none registered with official UAE authorities. These women had been erased from existence. The forensic pathologist arrived and began preliminary examination of Rosalie's body. Toxicology samples were rushed to the lab. By evening, the results came back, a lethal combination of benzodiazepines and barbiturates in her bloodstream, enough to render her unconscious, then stop her breathing entirely. She'd been murdered within hours of the ceremony. Meanwhile, Dubai's cybercrimes unit seized Zahir's computers and phones. What they found was chilling. Encrypted files containing videos of previous victims, bank transfer records showing millions of dirhams moving to accounts in the Philippines, Thailand, and Indonesia. Payments to trafficking networks that supplied vulnerable women seeking better lives. Communications with handlers who recruited desperate brides under false pretenses. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was systematic predation. On March 18th, just 3 days after Rosalie's death, Captain Al-Kabi received a tip from immigration authorities. Sheikh Zahir al-Maktoum had attempted to board a private charter flight to Muscat, Oman, at 3:00 a.m. Alert officers at the private aviation terminal recognized his name from the active warrant. When police surrounded the aircraft, Zahir showed no emotion, no panic, no remorse. He simply adjusted his gutra and walked down the stairs with his hands raised. "You don't understand who I am," he told the arresting officers. "This will go away." But it wouldn't. Not this time. During his first interrogation, Zahir remained cold and defiant. He claimed his actions were justified, that as a man of means and status, he had the right to do as he pleased with women who threw themselves at him for money. He showed no grief for Rosalie, no acknowledgement of the 4 other lives he'd taken. The nightmare didn't end with the arrest. What investigators found next would reveal a pattern so calculated, so methodical, it sent shockwaves through the entire Gulf region. What would you do if you discovered your neighbor or colleague was hiding such dark secrets? Would you have suspected anything? Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. News of Sheikh Zahir al-Maktoum's arrest exploded across headlines within hours. Dubai's tightly controlled media landscape rarely publicizes crimes involving prominent families, but this case was too massive to contain. International outlets picked up the story immediately. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, all running variations of the same shocking headline: "Wealthy Dubai Sheikh arrested for serial murder of foreign brides." The Filipino community in the UAE, numbering over 700,000 workers, erupted in outrage and grief. Protests formed outside the Philippine consulate demanding justice for Rosalie and the 4 other victims, whose identities were still being confirmed. Back in Manila, Rosalie's family learned of her death through news reports before officials could notify them properly. Teresa Fernandez collapsed when she saw her daughter's photo on television. The prosecution, led by Chief Prosecutor Mansour al-Daheri, built an airtight case over the following months. Forensic evidence was overwhelming. Toxicology reports proving deliberate poisoning. DNA evidence linking Zahir to all 5 victims. Digital records showing years of premeditated planning. Investigators tracked down the other 4 women's families. Each one had a similar story of online courtship, lavish promises, and sudden disappearance after traveling to Dubai. The pattern was horrifyingly consistent. Zahir specifically targeted women in their late 20s from working-class backgrounds, women desperate enough to take a leap of faith, isolated enough that their disappearance wouldn't immediately trigger international investigations. He'd used his wealth and connections to bypass normal immigration procedures, ensuring these women entered the UAE without proper documentation or oversight. When the trial began in September 2019, Dubai's criminal court was packed with journalists, advocacy groups, and members of the expatriate community. Zahir sat in the defendant's box wearing prison-issued clothing, his earlier arrogance replaced by calculated silence. His legal team, expensive lawyers hired by his family, argued diminished capacity, cultural misunderstandings, anything to reduce the charges. But the evidence was damning. Captain Al-Kabi testified about the locked cabinet of passports, the videos found on encrypted drives, the trafficking network payments. Forensic experts explained in clinical detail how each woman died. The courtroom fell silent as Rosalie's final text messages to her mother were read aloud, messages full of hope and excitement sent just hours before her murder. Throughout the trial, Zahir never once apologized. He never expressed remorse. When given the opportunity to address the court, he simply stated, "I am a victim of circumstance." On November 12, 2019, the judge delivered the verdict, guilty on all counts of premeditated murder, human trafficking, fraud, and abuse of power. The sentence, life imprisonment with no possibility of parole for 30 years. The courtroom erupted. This was unprecedented. In a society where family connections often influenced outcomes, the UAE justice system sent an unmistakable message. No one, regardless of wealth or lineage, is above the law. The severity of the punishment reflected not just the crimes themselves, but the betrayal of trust Zahir had committed against vulnerable women who came to the UAE seeking legitimate opportunities. Outside the courthouse, Prosecutor Al-Daheri addressed the media. This verdict demonstrates that the UAE will not tolerate predatory behavior, especially against those who come to our country in good faith. Justice has been served. For Rosalie's family watching via live stream from Manila, the sentence brought little comfort. Their daughter was gone. But at least her killer would never harm anyone again. Do you think the justice system in your area would handle a case like this the same way? Let me know in the comments. Rosalie's body was repatriated to Manila in late March 2019. Hundreds attended her funeral in Caloocan. Friends, former colleagues, and strangers moved by her story. Teresa Fernandez stood at her daughter's casket, her earlier warnings now a source of endless guilt. "I knew something was wrong," she told reporters through tears. "But what could I do? She was an adult chasing her dreams." The case triggered sweeping changes across the Gulf region. The Philippines Department of Foreign Affairs issued urgent advisories about international matchmaking services. Several agencies that operated without proper licensing were shut down. UAE authorities implemented stricter protocols for private immigration entries, closing loopholes that predators like Zahir had exploited. Advocacy groups launched campaigns educating women about red flags in online relationships, excessive secrecy, rushed timelines, isolation from family, reluctance to meet in public settings, pressure to travel without proper documentation. Rosalie's story became a cautionary tale taught in pre-departure orientation seminars for overseas workers. The lesson was clear: desperation makes us vulnerable. Dreams can blind us to danger, and predators always seek those with the least protection. Where are you watching from? Has your community seen similar cases? Drop your location and thoughts below. If you made it to this point, drop a comment with, "I'm still here." Let's see who is still watching. If you're enjoying this content, like, subscribe, and share it with your loved ones to protect them from the same tragedy happening to them in the future. Rosalie Fernandez wanted nothing more than to escape poverty and build a better future for her family. That hope, so pure, so human, became the very thing that cost her life. Predators like Zahir al-Maktoum don't just exploit poverty, they exploit dreams. They study vulnerabilities and manufacture trust where skepticism should exist. Her story reminds us, verify before you trust. Question what seems too perfect. Listen to the people who love you. Your instincts exist for a reason. If this story taught you something valuable, hit that like button and subscribe for more true crime stories that matter. What case should we cover next? Tell me in the comments. Before you go, if you want to learn how to protect yourself from potential danger, then don't forget to download your free ebook titled Safety for Women Over 40, Everyday Habits to Outsmart Criminals by clicking the link in the pinned comment.